trying to live somebody else's life when I had to look within and say, you have everything it takes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to just reprogram my mind. And it wasn't easy. I mean, literally, it was just mantras and like trying to figure out like why I was thinking this way, what was happening. If I was worried about money, how could I pick up another job? Where could I invest? What could I do? But I tried to stay as positive. Now, I am a human being. So there are things that happen that take you off that track. Even now, I still get disappointed, but I don't stay in the shit.
A leader has to take the risks.
Hi, Rockstar.
Yo, Madison, how are you?
I'm good. What's going on? There is
Um,
random, just to give you a heads up, random construction happening right next door that just started. And I'm like, what is going
okay.
on? So hopefully you
Okay.
can't hear that banging. If it gets bad and you're talking, I'll mute.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. I think we're good. We're gonna have some fun today.
Oh, I can't
Excited,
wait.
excited. The only thing is I want to get like a couple, like if you were to describe yourself like in the best, like how would you describe your like tagline or like what, you
I
know?
would say inspirational, driven,
Okay.
large heart,
Okay.
prides herself in adding value.
Okay. And do you have like a company name that you represent at all, or is it just
It's just
Madison
me,
Malloy?
like,
Okay.
yeah, Madison Malloy LLC.
All right. Well, I'm excited. It's a long time no see. Didn't we just get together a couple of weeks ago?
We
We're just like Zoom buddies now.
we are. I
This
love
is
it.
great. This
I
is
think it's
great.
absolutely. Your episode did well. People liked it. We love to hear that. So thank you again for
Yeah.
doing that. You were amazing.
No, no, I'm so glad that you were on. I'm so glad that we were able to get together. Madison Malloy, inspirational, driven, adding value, really trying to make a difference in the lives of human beings. Did you
Hmm.
always think that you were going to be in this space? Like where were you before? Like what did you do before you got into transforming lives?
Well, I've always had like a big heart. I've always, it's hard for me to walk away. I'm very loyal. So that's was always kind of ingrained in me. But when I was younger, I just wanted to be rich because I wanted to have that, external validation that we all needed. I'll show you guys I made it. So I naturally gravitated towards finance and went to Wall Street and got there and realized I'm like, oh God, this cannot be the rest of my life. I can't do. It wasn't just Wall Street. It was a positive experience, but it was just corporate America. Just being so put in a box and not being able to express who you are and add more value. It's like this is what you were given, and then that was all you could do. And I didn't realize I had such a creative side. So I finally stepped out of that box and took the chance, especially with the housing crisis of 2008, made it very easy, and decided, well, it's my life. I might as well go take a risk. And I started doing stand-up comedy. And although there was a lot of hardships that come with being an artist and giving up your health insurance and your paycheck, the joy you were bringing to people was something that you just couldn't get in a drug. It was a high you couldn't get in a drug. And the lifestyle was tough, but it led me into writing and creating. And now I have a book out. I've got three other books coming out this year and moving more into motivational speaking and coaching. So everything happens for a reason. I still do stand up. I get dragged on stage and I'm having fun with it. And you want to know why? I'm detached from the outcome. That is the key.
So you don't really, I mean, you don't care. I mean, you're just like, I'm going to do me and whatever happens, happens. And it's just, if they like me, they like me. If they don't like me, who cares? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, but in a healthy way. Like I don't care in a healthy way. It's not that I'm like not showing up and giving my best, but I think it's when you detach from a specific outcome, you let the energy and you let God do what it needs to do. And then you allow the best things to happen. You can't mess up things that are meant for you. Things that are meant for you will not pass you by. So you don't need to stress so much about life and overcomplicate it. You just need to learn to relax, take inspired action, take action every day towards your goals, but just let life happen around you. And that was something I struggled with for a very long time. But once I finally just said, you know what, everything's happening for me, not to me, everything just became easier. When bad stuff happens or when like, relationships don't work out, I'm just like, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be. Why dwell in it? I'm only getting closer to death, so I might as well enjoy what I got.
Good and bad of Wall Street.
The good was the money. The bad was having to ask for vacation time, you know? Like what the fuck was
So
that?
so you so you so you do like the freedom of your life now. I mean, it was a more structured, killing it, grinding it every day on Wall Street. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I do enjoy structure, but I also think it's important that people have freedom and not be fearful. I mean, I used to have anxiety if I wanted to like ask for a day off, and it's like you're working your ass off. Why are you feeling this way? Why are you? But a lot of our conflicts are all internal. I just couldn't deal with. I think everybody's goal, and you are a big proponent of this, is freedom, creating freedom in your life, especially financial freedom. That is when you're truly free. It's not about buying houses that impress people, cars that impress people, bags. None of that shit matters. When you are truly happy financially, is when you're free to control your time. And that's what I think we should all aim for. When you have full control over your time, you have crushed it. Because the guy with a yacht doesn't necessarily control his time. So don't get those two confused.
Well, that's important that you talk about that, because then I want to dive a little bit even deeper into that, because you saw it. I mean, you were around a lot of really wealthy people, people with a lot of money. And I don't think people talk about the fact that when you have massive amounts of assets, when you have multiple homes and cars that are, a fleet of cars. I mean, people don't realize that that stuff costs money, and every car has to have insurance on it. And there's so much more than just what it looks like in that 30-second Instagram. And I think that people don't realize, maybe you can, shed some light on this, but like there's a lot of stress in these people, would you say sometimes?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's the old saying, more money, more problems, but I think it's shitty mindset, more problems. It's good to have endless amounts of money, but you don't need endless amounts of shit. It's when we start consuming so much shit, so many cars, so many homes, so many this, that things get out of control, because now it's like our whole passion in our life became another business. The happiest people are the people that own the least, meaning when they don't need it, they're getting rid of it. And I feel that true freedom, like for me, I live very simply. I'm not a hoarder. If it doesn't belong, I get rid of it. I like that type of thing. If it stay, my friends have a joke, if you stay too long in her place, she'll throw you out. It's just one of those, like, in the trash. But I have the ability to literally, because I don't own a bunch of crap, to within 6 hours completely change my location. That is pure freedom. Like, pack up all my shit and I'm gone. I mean, it just sounds like that's like a hostile situation, but it's not. But I'm just saying, like, I'm not tied down. And so sometimes when we have too many possessions, we actually tie ourselves down mentally. So if that's what you want, you should go out and get it. But make sure your intention of why you're buying these things is positive. Because if your intention is not positive, they will bring you problems. So if your intention is to impress somebody outside of yourself, your intention is not good, and that will bring you problems. But if your intention is, I just really love this car, I just really love these homes, I've worked really hard, now I can have people come visit me, you're not going to have as many problems because your mindset's in a positive place.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Yeah, I mean, I'm the first one to say, try to make as much money as you possibly can. I mean, I'm all about thinking big and wanting to do big things,
100%.
but I'm also that person that when I buy new clothes, because I like to dress nice and I like nice clothes. One of the things, I like to stay in nice hotels. I like to drive nice cars. I mean, there's certain things that are standards for me. I don't, I don't like staying in crappy hotels. I mean, I have to stay in a nice. That's why I work so hard is, throughout my life and built the foundation and passive income and all that stuff, because I wanted to be in a position to do certain things the way that I like them done. But I'm that person though, in my closet doesn't get too crazy, because if I buy something, I actually give away one thing. So if I buy a new polo shirt, which I have a ton of them, I give away a polo shirt. You know, if I buy a
Yeah.
sweater, I give away a sweater because there's sweaters in there that I haven't worn in 5 years. And so,
Yeah.
why keep, adding on? And I just think that people, they hold on to, these possessions like they can't get any more. And if you have
Yeah.
an abundance mentality, thinking, okay, I live in an abundant world. I mean, so does that make sense to you?
Oh, absolutely. But you brought up the key word, which is like abundance. And I think people confuse that with like tons of shit. Abundance in your is created in your mind. And that will give you the freedom to do what you want to do. So you should stay in nice hotels. You should buy first class tickets. Rate you get the standard you set for yourself in life. Bob Proctor famously said it. Always buy a first, no, it wasn't Bob Proctor, it was Steve Harvey. Always buy a first class ticket because then you won't want to sit and coach. And when you raise your standards, you create more of an abundant mindset, which will then give you more inspired action to make more money. I'm all about having as much money as possible. I don't want people to struggle. I want them to live their dreams. That's what I do. Get out of your own way. All our problems are created simply in our mind. Our incomes are basically determined by our mindset and how we feel tied to our self image. So get as much as you can and have it in an account where you're creating passive income, this residual income, where then you don't ever have to worry. You don't have to miss a wedding, a birthday party, nothing. It's just how you interpret wealth is how it's going to treat you. Right. So, like, I always tell my friends, I say, wealth money's just an energy, right? Like we're all energy. So if you were saying to a friend, like let's say like you and I have been good friends and I said to you, there's not enough of you. You're the root of all evil. I have to work so hard for you. I'm always low on you. You'd be like, I don't really want to hang out with you. Well, that's exactly what we say to money. So why would money stick around to a place it's not welcome? So when we switch that language and that thought of there's always so much money, we go in through these horrible recessions or maybe soon to be depression, the money doesn't burn in a fire. It just changes hands. So when you're in a scarcity mindset, you look at the news and you go, oh my God, the world's hitting the fan and blah, blah, blah. And I'm losing all this money and my portfolio's down and blah, blah, blah. Where the people that are so trained in abundance and have a good relationship with money, a healthy relationship with money, are going to find opportunities to strive because people somehow
Right.
seriously think that money just evaporates and it goes away. It does not. It's switching hands. That number is still staying the same. So why can't it be in your hands? So next time you find yourself saying, it's so hard to make money, blah, 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 switch that mindset immediately and just be like, it is so easy to make money. There is abundance all around me.
So
And
how
just
how did you
really believe it.
so how did you go from a comedian, first of all, Wall Street, then a comedian, then self-improvement? I mean, like, that is so random and so like crazy, and just anybody watching, they're like, how did this happen? So can you just maybe take us back into your childhood a little bit, or tell us where did
Yeah.
all this come from, and maybe run us through that little timeline if you can.
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep this as fast as I can. But when I was younger, I was playing tennis at a club with very wealthy kids. And they had a lot more than we could have. I mean, my parents gave us everything they could. We had a great childhood, but these kids were like mega rich. And I remember telling my dad one day, I said, why can't we do what they're doing? And he said, well, because their father is an investment banker and I'm a CPA. So at that moment, it hit me. I said, I need to go to Wall Street. I'm going to be an investment banker. So I chose my college based on finance. And then I went to Wall Street, didn't get the investment banking job, ended up in bond trading. Thank God, it was much better of a lifestyle there. And then I realized, I'm like, oh God, this is not me. Like, this is just not who I am. So when I took the risk to do comedy, because comedy is such a hard, grinding thing, and you're also around a lot of people that have depression, that a lot of comedians and artists have mental health issues, you naturally start taking on kind of that energy. And when money's not coming in and now all of a sudden you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're not sure if you're going to survive and you're not sure if you're aging out of the business, and all these fears come into place, and you are so deep in scarcity. I all of a sudden had anxiety, I had depression. But here's the thing, I had such shitty health insurance that I couldn't afford therapy. So I couldn't even go to therapy to get myself out of this shit. So I had to start listening to personal development podcasts and reading books, and those weren't going totally in. And I had to say, my life is in my hands. And I was able to retrain my mind to be able to open up opportunities and get more clear on my direction. And that is what led to the first book of Time to Lighten the Fuck Up. Is I was like, I have to put my blue comedy in here and just uncomplicate the shit out of life. Like, I was ruining my own life by my thoughts. Like, that's all it was. There was never enough. I remember, like, on Sundays, I didn't have Sunday scaries. I actually liked Sundays. I had weekend scaries because the weekend was like more money was going to be spent. There was pressure to be on the road to make more money. And then I remember like driving past people's houses and like wanting to live their life. So everything I wanted was always out here, which means it's always going to stay out in front of you. And trying to live somebody else's life, when I had to look within and say, you have everything it takes. And so I was able to just reprogram my mind. And it wasn't easy. I mean, literally, it was just mantras and like trying to figure out like why I was thinking this way, what was happening. If I was worried about money, how could I pick up another job? Where could I invest? What could I do? But I tried to stay as positive. Now, I am a human being, so there are things that happen that take you off that track. Even now, I still get disappointed, but I don't stay in the shit as long. Like, things happen to where I'm like, I had something happen to me this week where the thought in my head became, why am I not enough? That was the thought. Now, the old me would have stayed there and wallowed in it, but I was like, no, I am enough. I'm just not enough for that situation because it's wrong for me.
What kind of comedy what kind of comedy do you do? Like, what's your main, like, theme in the comedy that you do?
So I would talk a lot about dating. I would talk about growing up in Colorado. I would talk about like my nieces. I would talk about being, now it's like being a woman and the frustrations of being a woman. Things that are kind of like relevant and that make me angry of just how expensive it is to be a woman. So I talk a lot about that. It's like, I had a joke that I was recently saying last weekend because it was International Women's Day. And I just said, it's so hard being a woman. It's expensive to be a woman. And it becomes more expensive every year just trying to maintain this shit. I said, I finally got to a point where I can keep my face up and now my fucking knees are sagging. And it's like, what the fuck? It's one thing after another, and people appreciate that because every woman knows when you start to get the crepiness around the knees, you're going, what the fuck? What do I do? There's not enough lunges. I actually got to do laser now. And it's crazy, but it's like men can look like shit. Men can do whatever they want, but oh God forbid that we shit, And I talk about all that. I talk about shaving my asshole twice a week, which is a lot. It's not not my actual asshole, just this guy that I'm dating. Let's be clear, I shave him. But yeah, so I talk about that. I talk about having clear intent. Here's the thing is like, I had to kind of take myself fully out of comedy because I was so blue. I was like, oh my God, I can't even, I literally step on a comedy stage and just a 18-year-old boy in a locker room just jumps right inside of me. And I'm like, who's not sucking dick for free? It's like a whole new, but it's really me. But I like that humor because it's true. And I was talking to somebody and they were like, oh my God, that joke you had about where I was saying, the toothbrush. If you're sleeping at somebody's place, you usually don't brush your teeth because you didn't bring your toothbrush, especially if it's random. And I'll tell my friends, well, why didn't you just use their toothbrush? And they're like, that's disgusting. And I was like, so you won't use their toothbrush, but you'll just throw their fucking sausage right down your hatchet. Really? Seriously? Like, none of this makes sense anymore. Like, I can tell you, the dick has been in a lot more different places than the toothbrush. So it's real stuff that like people can relate to, But it's fun. It's fun. And then it's like,
I love it. I love it. I mean, the one thing I was thinking about though, because you gotta, you do have to be careful because, like you were saying, the whole mindset when it collides with comedy and I think the reason why a lot of actors and comedians and even singers, sometimes their life is a little disruptive or a little,
Yeah.
chaotic, is because like for example, if you sing love song, I mean, think about your life, talking about breakup and talking
I,
about losing somebody, or talking about, like, you sing the song every single day. You're literally saying these mantras
mm-hmm.
to yourself, or if you're an actor or actress and you're doing a scene about how your husband in the movie cheated on you, and then you're going
I
through that
know.
whole thing, and then you try to go back into your relationship, and then you're thinking your dude is cheating on you, and you're looking for every sign or whatever. It's gotta be, honestly. I mean, and by the way, when I was about 14 years old, I was thinking about becoming, going into the acting business.
Yeah.
I'm pretty close to LA, and I was actually an extra in a bunch of movies, Pretty Woman and
Oh,
Charles in
nice.
Charge and a bunch of different things. But I thought about it later on in life, and I said, wow, man, what a different life I had versus maybe an actor, because I grew up in the self-improvement world versus in the acting world, and so
Right.
it's
I'm
share
glad
share
you brought
some
that
thoughts
up.
on that. Yeah, share some
Yeah.
thoughts on that.
So I'm so glad you brought that up because that is something that I realized in like my own personal development journey before I like helped others is this. All of a sudden I realized I'm like, why is my self-esteem so shitty? And I was so hard on myself. Even other comics would say, you're so rough on yourself. You really need to give yourself a break. You're so hard on yourself. And I couldn't understand. I looked good. I got attention. I had friends. I had a great apartment. I had everything. But my self worth and my self esteem was so in the gutter. And I covered it very well because people are like, yeah, you're so confident. But I couldn't figure out why. Well, here I was on stage every single night, multiple times a week, talking shit about myself in a comedy routine. So you brought that up where it's that constant repetition of you're this, you're this, you're this. So now when I do those jokes, I've altered them just a little bit to where I think like when I talk about like my knee sagging, I think it's funny because I think it makes women feel better. So I'm not saying, oh, I hate myself because my knees are a little saggy. I'm like, this makes other women feel better because they're probably going through this shit too. And it sucks, right? So like it's relatable that way. Or when I make fun of my face, it's not coming from like, oh, I'm self-deprecating myself because it's a hilarious joke because I have a face that people want to tell you what they think you look like without you even asking. And that has been something I've dealt with my whole life. And I have heard some of the funniest shit
Okay, so
ever.
you got to tell me, because you got to explain what you're talking about here.
Are you ready for this? These are
Yeah.
like all the things I've heard. You look like you would bring your own food to a barbecue.
Okay.
You look like you would donate to an animal charity, but wear fur to the event. You look like a second wife.
Okay.
You look like you you look like you suck dick in Greenwich, Connecticut. That was my favorite one.
Okay. I
That
don't know anything about Greenwich, Connecticut, so
was
that's
my
that
favorite one.
that went over.
That was my favorite. And then the worst one, but it was somewhat funny, is you look like John Benet Ramsey if she wasn't killed.
Oh, shit.
So yes. So trust me, I spun that shit right into a joke and I'm like, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
Because it's like, when I was doing comedy, I was really having inner conflict because people would say, you need to be yourself on stage. Because I look so, like Stepford wife, so to say. I've just got this waspy, very wealthy looking face. I would go up there and I would tell these blue, dirty, raunchy jokes. And they were like, you need to be yourself. And I'm like, this is me. I am trapped in this face, but I am a 300-pound lesbian on the inside. And this is who I am. And it's not my fault I look like a Stepford wife because that's not who I am. So who I was on the inside, and this is still the case, does not match who on the outside, which is weird. It's a weird thing. But now that I'm just embracing it and I'm honest with it, it's like, this is me. So that's why people say you're not cocky, you're not an asshole, you're not arrogant. You don't like expect things from people. And I'm like, no, because I'm like just an average person, especially on the inside. I'm 300 pounds. So, but
Well,
in a
I
good
don't,
way. I mean
but
that in a
in a
good
good way.
way.
You know,
In a good, because I feel more confident because I'm like, this is who I am. You don't like it? I'm okay with it. I'm not a mean person. I don't have a mean bone in my body. Actually, that was my friend's complaint about me recently. She said the problem you have with some of these men you date is you're too nice. Why can't you just tell them to fuck off? Why do you have to say, it was so great meeting you. I wish you the best. And I said, because it's not me and I'm not going to be inauthentic. And if that makes me a fucking pushover, go for it. But at least I can lay down at night knowing I was authentically myself and I didn't hurt somebody because they hurt me. It's just so be yourself authentically. Sometimes you need to tell people to fuck off, but I don't really do that. It's just not my nature.
No, I think that you well, look, first of all, comedy, we all need it. I
Oh,
mean,
of course.
comedy is, I always say that every time I laugh, I'm like I get another minute in my life, right? I'm just extending my
Yes.
life when I laugh. And I love comedy. I mean, I'm just like I love comedy shows. I love comedic movies. I love to
Yeah.
laugh. I mean, it's just one of the things that I love about life is that as human beings, and when you hear the truth about the world and the way things are, and you know, we all have insecurities. We all are.
Oh,
I mean, you know, I think that you know, when a
sorry, I was
comedian brings it to life and shares the story of really who we all are anyways. I think it's funny, but it's also it gives us some realization of being human, and I think that
yeah.
you know, I just think that at the same time, if I was an actor or if I was a comedian or some, you know, you do have to be very careful the way that you talk about yourself, and that's for everybody, by the way. I mean, think about
Everybody.
just that housewife that you know is taking care of four kids and is
Oh,
just you know going nuts. And but think about the way that she thinks about herself sometimes, right? I mean, because she's not getting dressed up every day, and then she's looking on her Instagram, looking at all these beautiful models and actresses and
I
all these
know.
people that are so, and then she feels like shit, right? And then she says, well, I'll never be that beautiful, I can't ever, you know. So it's like I don't know. I think social media, we have to be careful of and
Oh,
understand that it is just a perception. It's not real. I've been telling people this a lot lately. Instagram is not real. We all have shit in our life. We all have, you know, traumas. We all have, you know, issues and arguments with people, and you lose people, and you get divorced, and you separation, and you go through battles, and but we never share any of that shit. You know, if you think about it, right?
no. It's
Nobody
well,
talks about that.
it's all yeah, you're putting like your best face forward and you know what I mean? It's not like yeah, I'm not posting on Instagram when I'm buying a box of tampons.
Exactly.
But that
Exactly.
reminds me, maybe I actually should. I should do it when I'm like in no makeup, I'm in like a dumpy overcoat and I'm like buying just shit and like be like the reason I'm posting this is because like this is real life. Like this is what it is. It's not
And I think that's more, I think in today's world, if we're talking about social media or branding or, you know, trying to, you know, connect with an audience. And this is the challenge that I have probably this is one of my worst problems in dealing with this, because I've been in an industry and a business that I've always, you know, wanted to look good. I mean, I'm attracting
course.
people. I'm
Yeah.
recruiting, I'm training, I'm developing. You know, it's kind of like that real estate agent that they have their picture when they were 18, you know, and now they're 65, you know. So it's
Yes.
like you got to update your picture because you do not look like that in real life now that
Yeah.
I got to meet you. And so, you know, with the real estate agent, you know, and then, but it's like my whole life has been that kind of that picture perfect situation. And so that's what I've always been comfortable to share. And so
Yeah.
for me, you know, because just this last, you know, probably 3, 4 months, I've just started to talk about my divorce. And I never really even talked about my divorce to a whole lot of people, never publicly. And so even for me, it's been a lot of like just very strange, like a lot of different questions, a lot of different, trying to figure out, who is he really? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because, I've lived this kind of this life where I've been looked at on the stage for all of these years, and people know me a certain way. And Instagram's not real. We all have problems, we all have issues, we all have challenges, but it's how we get through them. Kind of what you were talking about, right? It's you taking that mindset, understanding we are just energy. We take it the direction that we need to take it. So, how do you feel about social media and Instagram, and how is that really affecting our growth as human beings?
So it's like everything in life, it's got its good and its bad. It is, the positives are, it has allowed people who wouldn't have had a chance to be famous, so to say, comedians, influencers, or whatever, to give them a platform to make money and to give new voices to the world. And so that I love for it. Some comedians might not have ever made it, but because of social media, they got a chance to be seen. They weren't waiting around for the Hollywood executives to say it's okay, because they don't know exactly what they're doing. They waited for the audience said yes. And that was all you needed. So that is the positive message. The downside is everybody's got these filters. Nothing's real. There's so much advice out there, whether it's good, whether it's bad. You have to be very careful of the advice you're taking. There's tarot card freaking readers all over TikTok. I mean, there is so much shit. There's toxic advice on dating, but then there's good advice on dating. So do I think it's good for children? No. I think that social media should be banned for anyone under the age of 21. If you can't drink, you can't have social media. And I say that because it is so important when these kids are younger, when they're not fully secure and they don't have self-esteem just because of their age and their experience, that they are not being pressured to look a certain way. The increase of plastic surgery on teenagers has gone through the roof since social media. Teenagers are now getting breast implants, lip fillers, Botox, okay? Because of this is not normal. And they're not learning how to connect authentically with other human beings. Remember when we grew up, there really wasn't social media. So we had to be present. We weren't on our phones. We weren't doing this. We really authentically hung out. And when you were with them, you were with them. And so that would be my rule. If you're under 21, you cannot use this shit. Maybe it's even 25 when you can drive a car, because you say your brain's not fully developed till 25. And then you can see. But maybe our younger influencers that could be listening, start being more real and authentic. I do love those TikTok accounts where the women are like just not models by any means, and they're crushing it because they're real and they're just having a conversation, and people do love that.
I think that's what people want, honestly. Like when you talked about being in the store and buying tampons, I mean, I think that's, again, I think that it's the hardest thing to do, because you really are becoming super vulnerable to just sharing your life to everybody. You're kind of giving away any sort of mystery at all. And it's kind of like, because I think years ago somebody said something about like, well, when you're a mystery, then people seek you out more, because they really want to know who. But then I don't know. And I think in this day and age, the way it's working right now, I think people want authenticity. People want real. They just want you to be yourself. They want to know who is the real Madison, who is the real Daniel. They want to know that. And it's almost like, I almost feel like, because I've been doing social media for a long time now, but I almost feel like it's like we're like little reality TV shows that are happening all the time.
Oh my gosh, we are.
I mean, is that crazy? To think about like, how the world has evolved. I want to know your thoughts about, especially being in the comedy business, and then of course, transitioning over into really transforming lives. What is what do you think about political correctness? Like how is that you know, uh, uh, changed your mind on anything in your world?
So I actually wrote, because political correctness, like it's BS, because all it is an opinion, and then an opinion that somebody's offended by at the end of the day. Like I put a whole chapter in my book, Time to Lighten the F Up, that was called It's Time to Stop Being Offended. Because when you're offended, and I especially can speak to this because I'm a comedian and there are so many people that get offended by jokes, and my friends have felt silenced, they've been harassed, they've been bullied because of it. So here's the deal, especially if you're walking into a comedy club. Being offended is one of the most narcissistic behaviors there is. The reason being is you took a joke or a situation that had nothing to do with you and made it all about you. So you are a narcissistic Debbie Downer suck fun, and fuck you. That's what I would say to that.
I
That was
love
kind of
it.
mean. Everyone's like, wait a second, this girl doesn't tell people to fuck up. If you're
No, no,
offended,
no.
fuck yourself. No, I'm just kidding.
No, 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 no. I would say the
It's like,
same.
oh,
Look, I'm telling you, I would say the exact same thing. I mean, I think that it is wild. I mean, first of all, don't go to comedy clubs if you get offended easily. I mean, because you don't have to go. I mean, nobody makes you go to a comedy club. I mean,
but here's the
and by
thing. But the thing is,
no,
like, these jokes that these comedians are doing have been done 20 to 50 to 100 times sometimes. And then to be like, ah, oh, that was all about me. I'm like, are you that big of a narcissist? Like, to those people should be banned. I feel like if you're offended at a comedy club, you should be banned from all comedy clubs across the country. But when it comes to political correctness, and when people are offended by politicians, or they're offended by things at work, and now you have all these people in corporate America who can't even properly do their job because they're afraid that Karen from accounting is going to report them to HR. So now you have all these people like, oh, I can't say the wrong thing, or oh, I'm a Trump supporter, they're not, they're a Biden supporter, I'm a Biden supporter, they're a Trump supporter. Like, it's like, who fucking cares? People are different, they have different DNA. The best thing you can do, you can't control the crooked politicians. You can't control what people say about you. What you can control is how you react to it. And you have to realize there's nothing to do with you. And the only thing that you can do is be kind to other people. And if you're kind to other people, you can't worry about what the politicians in Washington are doing, because they're corrupt anyways. Who
it
gives a
is
shit?
well, and yeah, I mean, there's no question, but there's a pretty deep divide right now. I think that you would probably agree.
I don't think
There,
it's as bad as it was in 2020.
you don't
Maybe
think so? Okay, all
no,
right.
maybe
Well,
because
okay,
I don't watch the news as much as I used to.
okay.
Uh,
Well,
I don't think it's as bad. I think
I
it's actually more people for the right side now, because everything's waking up
Well,
with
I do.
the
I
economic.
do think that. I do think that you're right. There's no question. I mean, people are starting to kind of,
Wake up.
wake up. I mean, I hate to say like they're woke, but man, everybody's getting woke in a good way. They're waking up and they're saying,
Yeah,
okay, what is going on? Like this can't be sustainable. I mean,
it's
you
not.
can't just open up the borders and let anybody come in. And why is nobody offended? Talk about being offended, right? Why, at least on the left side, why are they not offended that there has been hundreds of thousands of Americans that have died due to poisoning? They're poisoning Americans, literally, like the drug, the fentanyl that's coming
Fentanyl.
across the border by other countries, probably China.
It is. Yep.
I don't understand why they're not up in arms right now going, are you kidding? Like, let's go, what were they doing? Rioting. Let's go riot because all these Americans are dying. Like, what happened? Like, why are we not offended of that stuff?
I 100% agree with you, but like, I don't really watch the news, but when I do hear it in passing, it's not a narrative they're pushing, right? So people are just inherently can't think for themselves, unfortunately. And so they believe everything that they hear. You're not hearing about the fentanyl crisis on the news. You're not seeing it everywhere. So you and I know about it because we're highly educated. We know what's going on out there, right? But this is why. And half of these riots and these protests, I think, are being funded by people. And they're not funding this because they have another agenda. this is a whole thing to where I'm like, Jesus, take the wheel. Like, these people are lost. How did so much evil get into this world? But there's light always beats out dark. So yes, I agree. We should all be making a protest about closing our borders because like veterans are like losing their homes. People that fought for this country over these people. And granted, every human deserves basic human decency and rights. But at the same time, rules are in place to protect people. If you can't offer the resources for everybody, you can't offer them to some people. And what my biggest fear with this open border is that we're now creating a new racial divide in this country because people are so fed up that these people are taking advantage and not paying into the system where technically it's not their fault. Once you come, if you were living a shitty life and you could get all the shit, why not, right? You can't blame them. But all of a sudden, now you've got every American, every religion, every race all together hating these people. So it's a new racial divide. And whenever we're divided, we're controlled. And you cannot do that. So hopefully they can just close the border and just take care of our veterans and our homeless and the mental health crisis. But again, we don't lose too much sleep. Find out what you can do to make the world a better place. But the rest of it, you got to let go. Because I mean, I have a family member who is always sending me shit. And I can only look at some of it because it's like, the world is ending. I mean, she must have like survival food. I'm just one of those people where I'm like, if the world's gonna end, like I'm running to the grenade and jumping on it because I'm like, I'd rather just go meet Jesus and not have to be left behind in the suffering. That's where like building a bunker. No way, I'm going to heaven. I'm out.
I hear you. I hear you. I guess for me, it's kind of a sad thing because I've always been patriotic. I've always cared about America.
I
I've
feel like
always
you
been
should.
I've always been that person that was very grateful. Because I mean, think about my life, right? Where I came from, making $7 an hour, changed
Yeah.
my life, financially independent by 28. I mean, I just like my life is pretty fantastic. Not perfect, but pretty
Right.
fantastic, right?
Totally.
Because of America and because we have laws, because America is freedom, because we have opportunity that is
Yeah.
endless. I mean, think about it. Every time I travel, because I travel a lot, I've been a lot of different countries around the
Yeah.
world, and I'm telling you, every single time. I mean, it's always fun when you go there and you enjoy it, but you come back home and you're like, oh shit, man, we are so lucky to be Americans. And like you said, these people that are
Yeah.
coming across the border, you cannot fault them. Of
Totally.
course, anybody, I'd be that person running over too, because America's so damn unbelievable, right? But
Yeah.
this is what a lot of people aren't realizing. If we don't start voting correctly, and I say vote right, if we're not voting right, then we're not going to eventually 10 years, 20 years, I don't know when, we're not going to have a country that is like that because
No, we're
the
going to be a
thought
communist regime.
we will be a communist regime. So if we're not careful, so again, I mean, I agree with you. I don't, I try not to, I still do my stuff all day long. I still am running my life. Future is bright. I'm not,
Yeah.
like doom and gloom every day, but I also need to make sure that I stay educated, that I stay aware,
Absolutely.
and I vote with my, with the ballot box, that I vote correctly. Because if I don't, man, all this freedom, it's not just, you just can't think it's going to be there forever. If
Oh,
in
they want to
2000,
take it away. Trust me, they want to strip it away. I mean, it is some scary shit. Remember when all this was conspiracy theories? Oh, not anymore.
yeah, I mean,
Like,
imagine like I'm getting thrown out of Starbucks because my mask is 2 centimeters below my nose, and Disneyland wanted to kick me out, and I mean I mean, it's like crazy. And then after all said and done, nobody ever says, "Hey, man, we're sorry. We probably shouldn't have done that. That was kind of stupid. We made some mistakes. We are just following what all these people said to do." But it's like there's got to be some more common sense in the world if we're going to have a better world. We got to like fight together, like as Americans, and say, look, we need to uphold the Constitution and make sure that we make better choices. And so,
and that people are vetted, because I think we've got
right?
sleeper cells around, and it's like
Oh,
we are
absolutely,
literally like any moment there could be a terrorist attack, because there's people
totally,
coming in from these countries that are not vetted. So it's not just the people that just want a fair chance at life. It's like people that actually want to damage America.
right,
So that is the concern. And it's just like one of those things where it's gonna be so sad when it happens. It's gonna be like, are we surprised?
yeah. I
Are
mean,
we? But the good news is the Bible did say, I don't know if they refer to it as America, but basically, if America goes down, well, they also said this about Israel. If Israel gets hit, Israel's holy land, he would be back. If America goes down, he will be back. So there's like two major things. So the good news is if shit totally hits the fan and you're a good person, Jesus is coming to bring you to the Ritz-Carlton of heaven. That's just my belief on this.
I love it. I love it. And
So
look,
I live in no fear because of that.
well,
Zero fear.
and that's beautiful, and that's beautiful, and I'm totally with you on that, because I mean I am a man of faith, and I
Yeah.
do believe in God, and so I believe at the end of the day, I can only just do me. I'm playing the game, stay
Yeah.
faithful, believe in God, and ultimately everything that's supposed to happen is going to happen. I mean,
Yeah.
we
Let
just got to
go.
keep
Yeah.
moving forward.
Yeah. Let go of the stuff you cannot control. Your life will be so much easier and less complicated when you lighten the F up by letting go of the stuff you cannot control.
I
That
love it.
includes relationships, jobs, people, anything. And you know what? I want to encourage people more. So I go between Colorado and New York City. And I'm in New York City, and New York City is a tough place. And it's falling apart because obviously there's a lot of shit going on. There's a crime through the roof. I just have this thing where I like to smile at people. If you make eye contact with me, I'm greeting you with a smile. It might not be a full T smile, but I'm smiling at you. And the amount of people that actually smile back and are touched by it is very shocking. So I want to encourage everybody to smile every single time you see somebody, because you just don't know how it's going to impact somebody's day. So that's my new thing. I'm running around New York City with a smile on my face. I'm surprised I haven't been punched.
Well, I love that, because I always call myself a professional friend maker. That's
Yeah.
my title. I'm not a financial guy. I'm a professional friend maker. So all my
I
life,
like
my
that.
my entire life in business, since 21 years old, I am, I got up every single day. I'm the guy that opens up the doors for everybody. I'm the guy that smiles at everybody. I'm the guy that waves at people, even though they're, saying I'm number one in traffic, in
Yeah.
downtown LA, but I'm that guy that is trying to look for the silver lining in
Yeah.
whatever situation. Like, let's find a solution instead of trying to figure out what's wrong. Like, I understand shit goes bad and we got to fix things, but don't
Mhm.
just complain to me about why you're unhappy or why shit's bad or why things aren't
Yeah.
going your way. Give me a solution so that way we can work on it together. And I think that's
Yeah.
leadership. That's always been my leadership style.
Amen.
I run a pretty large agency, and I always told my agents, look, I mean, if you got a challenge, come to me directly. My door is always open, and I'm here to try to find solutions, not complaints, trying to find solutions. And I think that as
I
a
love that.
leadership style, not a bad thing. Okay,
I
so
love that.
uh, so your mentor, I wanted to ask you about, do you have any mentors? Is there anybody that you really like throughout your life, you look back and that was the person that really helped you to transform your thinking or take you to that next level?
Well, as far as like unconditional love and support, my parents. I mean, they believed in me before I even believed in myself. And then as far as like business mentors, I haven't had a ton, to be honest with you. But there's coaches that I listen to, programs that I've taken. I'm affiliated with Proctor Gallagher, so Bob Proctor, obviously, and Sandy, and some of my friends that are in this business, we bounce a lot of stuff off each other. And even though we're in this mindset improving your life field, we're still human. I mean, I like had a thing like this week where I was talking to one of my friends who's like a mindset person, and I just said like, you have to remind me that you can't mess up something that's meant for you. Or can you? And she's like, no, you cannot. You cannot. So sometimes you need that reassurance and that backbone. So it's okay to slip up. Just make sure you get back on the path. So I would say, yeah, I don't have anyone like specifically, like I don't know Tony Robbins like personally or anything like that, but I think he's amazing, his work, and his, I think he's great, but like he's definitely a brilliant marketer, you know.
For sure, for sure. I mean, I was 21. I mean, changed my life. I mean, Tony Robbins
He's
actually did change
amazing.
my life. I mean, I was
Yeah.
21 and I went to my first seminar and like my life was never the same. I mean, and I learned specifically how my brain worked. I mean, I think looking back, that was the most significant thing that I learned from him is I
Yeah.
learned how my brain worked. And I understood that, we have these limiting beliefs that are
Uh,
inside of us. And if we don't crush those limiting beliefs, we're going to have a crappy life, man. And I started working on that heavily, through the Dickens pattern and trying to really get myself to understand that these things, if I don't change it, what is my life going to look like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road? And I made
yeah.
a decision that I was not going to live in fear of these limiting beliefs. I always thought about myself as a short Mexican little, uneducated kid, which that's what I saw myself as a teenager. And I got in a lot of fights, got in a lot of trouble, all that, bad. I was a bad kid. And so when I got into business, I was like literally afraid to talk to tall, white, educated men. That was like a
Mm,
limiting belief for me. I was like, I
yeah.
didn't see myself as worthy to be in those environments. And then, so I never really talked to the people that I think maybe could have helped me faster, build my business faster. And so, but of course, once you crush that, and then once you figure out that, you get to spend your life worrying about what people think about you, or you get to spend your life doing you and becoming the best version of you that you can become. And once I
Amen.
figured that out, I mean, shit, it was all downhill. I mean, I was able to crush it after that. So, and
I
then
know. It's like
yeah.
when you
So,
let go of the care of what people think, it's like that's like mental freedom, you
and
know?
it's fun because then it's like the world kind of opens up for you. I
Yeah.
mean, I wrote a book, and you wrote a book too, right? And I wrote a book, and I'm thinking, is it perfect? I got to make sure it's perfect. I got to, what are people
Yes.
going to think? How are they going to
Remember
react to
that?
it? Like, and then, like a couple of years later, you're like, nobody gives a fuck about it anyways. It's like, I mean, it's
That
like,
right.
they don't even care. I mean, people, they read the first 3 pages anyways, and then they're done. Just got to make sure your first 5 pages are really, really good. That's it, because that's all people read, when they're
Well, then they hook in,
self-improvement.
yeah, and make sure the audiobook is there because people like those
There you go.
audiobooks. I'm one
I
of them because I'm like, I
I
can't sit and just read.
I
I have
know.
to go on the go at the gym. That's like my motivational walking
That's
around,
it.
stuff like
That's
that.
it.
This has been
It's
awesome. I love
yeah.
talking with you. We could talk for hours, I feel like.
No, no, seriously. I mean, I like hanging out with people that are very conscious about, what they want, where they want to go, what their life is going to be like. Tell me about that though. Like, where do you see yourself 5 years, 10 years down the road?
So I see myself performing on stages all across the globe, inspiring people to get out of their own way and live their best life. I want to be a best-selling author of multiple books, including a fictional series that I'm working on. I want to have my inspirational but entertaining reality television shows on the air. And I would love to also be the face of Coors Light because I love it. That's
Yeah.
like my literally my bucket list item. So hopefully you have a
Wait a
drink
minute.
in it,
Are you
course.
serious?
Yeah.
You really do love Bud Light? I mean, or Coors
No,
Light?
I love
Coors
Coors,
Light.
not
Coors
Bud
Light.
Light.
Sorry,
No,
sorry, sorry.
I'm not Dylan Mulvaney, but thanks to Dylan Mulvaney, I think I now have a shot to be the face of Coors Light. Why?
There you go.
I'm actually a woman and I'm authentic.
So what
I've
is a
been
woman?
drinking
So
and
what
booze
is a woman to
forever.
you? So what is a woman?
More Y than X chromosomes.
Okay. Wow. You're
I
brilliant.
think it's that, right?
You're
It's like,
actually more brilliant than that Supreme Court justice that couldn't define what a
I
woman was.
know. I
I'm
was
like,
like,
how did we ever elect into the Supreme Court of the United States of
yeah,
America?
like a
You know,
pussy versus a dick. I don't
uh-huh. Yeah, pretty simple. Pretty simple stuff. Life doesn't have to be that complicated, you know. And
know.
man, I love this. Okay, so tell me uh what how do people get a hold of you? How do they get connected with you? Because I want them to
Yeah.
know you, and they're gonna, by the
Yeah.
way, they're all gonna DM you, by the way, on your Instagram. So give us your Instagram too, but they're gonna DM you and they're gonna say, thank you, Madison.
Yes.
We loved Wealth on the Beach podcast with Daniel Alonzo. It was amazing. And they're going to DM you and buy all your shit.
Okay, I love it. When you first said slide into your DMs, I'm like, yeah, no, don't send me dick pics. No, 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 no. But you're saying in a positive way. That was the first thing where
Yes.
my mind went.
Is that
But
what it
yeah,
means? I didn't. Okay.
but
Anyways,
when
go
it
ahead.
says slide into you, you're like, they're going to message you. Would be like,
Okay.
isn't that funny?
Well, I
Um,
mean, who knows? Maybe you'll get some good dick pics. I don't know. Maybe you will. I mean,
I'm gonna make a
don't, you know,
collage. I'm gonna make a collage. I'm gonna put them on a
this is
t-shirt
from
and then I'm
Wealth
gonna,
on the Beach,
yes.
podcast. These are all the dick pics that I got. Yeah.
And then I'm sending
Awesome.
it to you and you have to wear it on your
Okay.
next.
I will wear it on my next show. Perfect. Love it.
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram at real Madison Malloy, and Malloy is Malloy. TikTok's the same thing. I'm on LinkedIn as Madison Malloy. X is Madison Malloy. What else is there? Facebook is Madison Malloy. You can find me anywhere, madisonmalloy.com. I'm not hard to find. Yeah, and check out my first book, and I got more books coming out, and the only wish I have for all of you is that you are kind to each other and you realize that you are one of a kind and you absolutely matter. And it would mean so much to me if you could follow me. Oh, and my book as well, just so people know. If you buy my book, I'm also donating a portion of the proceeds to mental health charity. So it's a way for you guys to also give back and improve your own life. And that's Time to Lighten the F Up, which is available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon.
I love it.
That's
I
it.
love it. You know what? That's a
Oh, and
mouthful.
I forgot my podcast that you were just on, Next to
Okay.
Madison. Also, so check out Next to Madison. Daniel was just on. So give that it's a podcast to make you happier, healthier, and wealthier.
I love it. I love it. Well, we got to get some little clips going on and we'll make sure we share those with the world. So,
Yes.
thank you again for hanging with me. This was honestly, like, I laughed more. I've done 250 podcasts interviews and I laughed more on this one and was more real and authentic than ever before on any podcast. So you brought the life out of me for sure today. So thank you for that.
Hey. Oh,
And
good. Thank you.
we appreciate you so much. And with that said,
I
everybody,
appreciate
make sure you continue to dream bigger than ever, get after it, but most importantly, do it now. God bless you. We will see you at the top.